In the 1940s, the younger generation of jazz musicians forged a new style out of the elementary swing of the 1930s. This new hip form of jazz, characterized by fast tempos, virtuosic technique, and improvisation based on harmonic structure, was founded in Kansas City, Missouri. This radical change into what we know as jazz today swept America off its feet and created a whole new era of the music industry. Essential bebop jazz founders include saxophonist Charlie Parker, trumpeter Dizzy Gillespie, drummer Art Blakey, and pianists Bud Powell and Thelonious Monk. These musicians were influenced by earlier, more conventional jazz players such as saxophonist Sidney Bechet, trumpeter Louis Armstrong, and pianist Art Tatum and Scott Joplin. These predecessors comprised much more comprehensible pieces of music compared to the totally eccentric methods and techniques of their successors. Now we will present a brief history of the big three founders of bebop jazz and their contributions to American music. Charlie Parker was born August 29, 1920 in Kansas City, Kansas. Parker started playing the alto sax at the age of 11. He joined his school band at the age of 14 but was actually kicked out due to his terrible playing. Later called the Bird, this talented musician sometimes integrated jazz with other musical genres from classical all the way to Latin music. Because of this, Parker created visionary paths that later musicians would follow. Should you know PNG, Charlie Parker learned Cherokee in all 12 chromatic keys and could play them all into the hundreds of beats per minute. It only took him 15 hours a day for 2 years. Parker claimed that Cherokee was the key to his music, and he borrowed from it to compose his first recording, Coco. Coco is considered one of the first bebop songs of all time. Charlie Parker actually refused to call his music bebop jazz because he felt it demeaned the music. Speaking of demeaning, Charlie Parker was a critical heroin addict. After abusing his body his whole life, Charlie the Bird Parker died on March 12, 1955 in his New York City apartment, only living to be 35 years young. The coroner who performed an autopsy on Parker's body mistook him for a man in his early 60s. Despite his very young and unfulfilled life, Parker completely revolutionized commercial music as we know it. Please enjoy our reenactment of one of many of Parker's hits, Parker's Mood.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Charlie Parker.
Thelonious Monk was born October 10, 1917 in Rocky Mount, North Carolina. He taught himself how to play the piano at a very young age, and because of this, he has been criticized for having terrible technique, for example, crossing his hands on the piano and banging on the keys. Majority of his style was developed during his stint at Minton's Bar. Here he would participate in the after-hours cutting competitions that featured many popular jazz artists of the day. Gillespie and Parker participated in these as well. Monk contributed much individuality and uniqueness to jazz. On the note of uniqueness, he would frequently stop playing in the middle of shows and start turning in counterclockwise circles over and over again, while the other instruments continued to play. As lighthearted as he might seem, investigation and study shows that Monk had schizophrenia and other mental disorders. He was very unsocial as he suffered from chronic depression and drug abuse. During the Giants of the Jazz tour, the last tour of Monk's life, fellow jazzers Dizzy Gillespie, Al McKibben, and Art Blakey claimed he only said 2 words during the entire tour. He sent word back to a few of them after the tour that the reason he would not communicate with them is because they were so ugly. Monk spent the last 6 years of his life in isolation, not touching a piano. He died of a stroke in his friend's home on February 17, 1982. We hope you enjoy our reenactment of Monk's hit, Monk's Dreams.
We now present Thelonious Monk.
Dizzy Gillespie was born October 21, 1917 in Cheraw, South Carolina. Having played the trumpet almost all of his life, Gillespie borrowed much from African and Latin music to form his complex, unique playing style. Out of the big three, Gillespie is probably the most influential. In fact, other than his playing, Gillespie is famous for his beret, glasses, curved trumpet bell, light-hearted personality, and most of all, his puffed-up cheeks. Many other jazz musicians followed in his footsteps, both musically and in wardrobe. In 1989, Gillespie was crowned a traditional chief in Nigeria, received France's most prestigious cultural award, was named Regent Professor by the University of California, and received his 14th honorary doctoral degree, this one from the Berklee College of Music, and was awarded the Grammy Lifetime Achievement Award the same year. He also gave 300 performances in 27 countries, appeared in 100 U.S. cities in 31 states and the District of Columbia, headlined 3 television specials, performed with 2 symphonies, and recorded 4 albums, all in 1 year. He died just 4 years later in January 6, 1993 because of pancreatic cancer. What a fulfilling, influential life. American music will never be the same. Please enjoy our final performance of Dizzy Gillespie's bebop classic, Salt Peanuts.
Give it up for Dizzy Gillespie.
I'm a scat man. Where's the scat man?
Today, the definition of jazz has been expanded and its content diversified. Now practically unidentifiable with its roots of bebop jazz, modern jazz can be defined as smooth, such as artists like Kenny G, all the way to electronic, such as the track in the background. In the 50s, hard bop sax and trumpet players infused bebop music with rhythm and blues styles and gospel influences. In the 50s and 60s, free jazz pioneers such as saxophonist John Coltrane developed unusual new sounds and playing styles. In the 70s, the jazz rock fusion scene came about. In the 80s, sax players such as Kenny G and David Sanborn played a radio-friendly style of fusion called smooth jazz. In the 1990s and 2000s, jazz returned to a more traditional approach which reached back to the 1950s and 60s. Jazz will continue to diversify and evolve, but perhaps never again will it captivate America like bebop jazz did in the 1940s. Today,